Hello, London. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you here to the first ever Midnight Summit, to my hometown of London. And where better to talk about midnight, to talk about privacy, than the home of time, Greenwich, where the meridian date timeline comes about. And what a wonderful building we're in, a historic building. You may have noticed we've got the decorators in, so it's looking smart, beautiful. And we're going to talk about privacy, and we'll talk about why privacy, freedom, and fairness is the structures that unlock blockchain's true potential. But before I go into my keynote, just a little secret that exists in this building today. Before this building became known as the Royal Naval College, it was a palace of Greenwich. And Henry VIII was born underneath our very feet in this very building. So that's a secret that this building keeps. And secrets are important. Privacy is important. So we'll talk about why that will unlock the future potential of blockchain. But I want to take you back in time, just for a little bit. So please, humor me. Blockchain started with a promise. In 2008, Satoshi released the Bitcoin white paper, and the first block was mined in 2009. But in 2008, that white paper dropped just a few weeks after the great financial crisis. And if you lived through that period, then what that taught you was that the very money you worked very hard to earn, the salary that you put in the bank, the very assets you owned, didn't belong to you. Think about that. You work 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, wherever it may be. The assets that you saved were owned by the banks. The very financial institutions that were meant to protect you were gambling away those assets. They wrote you an IOU. And when you needed it most, when your businesses were failing, or when you thought there was a bank run, you could not access that. That sounds strange, but that's true. I lived through that. I worked at a hedge fund at the time. And millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars were locked up in banks which could not be accessed. So what Bitcoin promised was a different kind of ownership. What Bitcoin showed was the ability to have direct ownership of your assets, peer-to-peer transactions, without borders, without censorship, without intermediaries. Super powerful. And Bitcoin was the first generation of blockchain, the first to show you could have decentralized money, decentralized assets. And then Ethereum came along, the second generation, which showed you could have programmability, smart contracts, which did the work of individuals. So that then unlocked more potentials, DeFi, NFTs, and far beyond. And then came the third generation, which was all about scalability and interoperability. Cardano, Polkadot, Solana. And when you think about those chains and where we are today, we keep talking about faster. Faster is better. But that's not always true, because even with the speed of some of the chains we have today, we haven't seen mass adoption. No major business is running their technology using blockchain. They may be tokenized here and there. No major asset manager is actually managing their wealth on-chain. And there's a reason for that, because all the blockchains that I've described came with a compromise. That compromise was transparency. Blockchains are a truth layer, but the truth was only possible because everybody had a copy. Everybody could see what you were doing, when you were doing it, who you were transacting with, and everything that you did was not only transparent, but transparent forever, immutable. And that transparency compromises your privacy. So we believe Midnight is the fourth generation of blockchains that brings privacy into this technology, that ushers in widespread adoption, because we believe that we are delivering the missing piece. And that missing piece is rational privacy. You've heard me speak about it before, but I'm going to just ask you to participate in a small survey for me, if you may. So, I would like you to raise your hands, please, everybody. Just put them up in the air. Just one hand is fine. And keep your hands raised if any of the answers to the following questions are true. And please lower your hands if they are false. Keep your hands raised if, during this next 2 or 3 days at the summit, you're willing to come up to me and tell me your name. So the majority of you. You're willing to tell me where you work or what you're developing. Great. You're willing to tell me where you traveled from. You're willing to tell me your salaries. Oh. You're willing to tell me how much assets you have in the bank. That is rational privacy. The ability to determine what you share, when you share it, with whom you share it. That conversation, those interactions, create a level of authenticity, of trust. And ultimately, in business or any relationship, is built on trust. But trust comes from privacy. And within Midnight, we're bringing privacy by default. The ability to have fully shielded transactions from the outset, protecting not only your data, but more importantly, your metadata. Who you are is just as important as what you do. But privacy alone is not enough. You need disclosures by choice, just like we did in this room today. The ability to disclose information. And the smart contract language within Midnight enables that. You present proofs. Your data doesn't even touch the blockchain. Your data doesn't need to be on a blockchain. Proof of your identity. Proof of who you are, what you are, where you are, with people that you want to share that with. The whole world does not need to know what you're doing. Through proof, you get verifiable truth. And through disclosures, what we allow every one of you to do as a user, as a developer, as a corporate, as a machine, is to disclose selectively. That's very powerful. But rational privacy alone is not enough. We also believe in cooperative economics. So, cooperative economics is bringing a change to how blockchains work. Blockchains today are tribalist. Why? Because you have to own the blockchain that you transact in. Modern technology is not built around ownership. You lease cloud servers. Gone are the days where your CTO said, I need my server physically in my building. You lease databases through companies like Snowflake. In fact, you lease knowledge through AI nowadays. Who does any research? The first port of call is either Google, Gemini, ChatGPT. You're renting that, and yet in every blockchain you have to own it. I'm going to ask for another show of hands. Who owns an Apple iPhone here? Keep your hands raised if you paid for your Apple iPhone in Apple shares. No. You pay for your phone, you pay for technology using fiat. Fiat is your gas fee, it's your utility. Your Apple shares are speculations, they're speculative assets. Yet in every blockchain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, Cardano, the very asset you buy and you speculate on to go up in value is the very asset you cannibalize to pay for your goods, for your transactions. It makes no sense. And what happens when that asset gets to $1 million? What happens to transactions utility on the network? You can't provide any predictability around capacity or cost. So at Midnight, we're changing things. Everybody has been participating in the Glacier Drop, or the scavenger mine. Why? Because you're trying to claim Night. Night is the ownership and governance token of Midnight. It gives you access, gives you rights on that network. You got to say how it's governed in the future. It will go up and down in value. It'll be a volatile asset like other crypto assets. But it's not your gas fee. Instead, Night emits dust. Dust is your gas fee. It's your computational resource. It's your private computational resource, which allows you to present fully shielded transactions on Midnight. But dust is not a token with a value. It decays. So it avoids some of the compliance issues that we're seeing with other privacy chains. And because Night emits dust, if you can predict how much transactions you're committing, you know how much dust you need. And if you know how much dust you need, then you know how much Night you need to own. Night is plugging you into the electricity grid. Dust is your electricity supply. Want more electricity? Own more Night, plug into more grids, more stations gives you more supply, more capacity. But the beauty about dust is that it also means you don't need to own the network to participate. Many of you who've claimed Night, many large exchanges, custodians, will be large holders of Night carrying large capacity in dust. Now, as a large corporate, a Web2 business, or even a Web3 chain that is different to Midnight, you can now lease capacity. You can lease consumption. For the first time, you can have blockchain as a service. We encourage every chain to come work with us, where Midnight's privacy-enabling capabilities can extend into other networks. Pay for it in ADA, or Sol, or Bitcoin. We want to encourage everybody to come and work with Midnight, because we believe privacy is what unlocks the future. So Midnight, with those functionalities around rational privacy, with the cooperative tokenomic model, unlocks the true potential of blockchain. We've got to move away from the fad of trading tokens. Token go up, everybody's happy, token go down. We're all writing on Reddit, X, and other things, calling each other out. We should work together to build a better future. Blockchain is a truth layer, and Midnight becomes that truth layer, that infrastructure layer, the meta chain, the privacy engine to Web3 and Web2. And over the coming days, you'll hear from many of our community developers who are working and coming to Midnight to build because of that potential. You'll hear from some of our partners, large collaborations, small innovative collaborations, who've come to Midnight because of what we can unlock. Cooperation, not competition, is key to widespread adoption. And underpinning all of that are the freedoms of ACE. The freedom of association without permission. Think about it. I'm sure we have many sports fans in here today. You should be able to associate to your team in a free and accessible way. You should be able to make comments about that team without getting ridiculed. That freedom is an important part of who we are, both as individuals and as nation states and beyond. We should have the freedom of commerce. So going back to the guiding principles of Bitcoin, that ability to trade with whomever you want, whenever you want, without restriction. I'm going to name a controversial person who's heard of Nigel Farage? So Nigel Farage is a right-wing politician in the UK. He has strong views about immigration and other matters. I don't personally agree with many of his views. But what I support him on is the fact that his bank decided to unbank him because of his political views. I don't know if he was a good customer, a bad customer in terms of how much assets he held, minimum transactions. But nobody deserves the right to be prevented from access to any kind of commerce because of views. I look around the faces here in this room. We come from far and wide, from many continents. We are all different. We should embrace those differences. And the last one is the freedom of expression without censorship. We should all have the right to express our views. Like, I think the ceiling up there is beautiful. Somebody may disagree. They might not like flying cherubs and other elements like that. But that's your entitlement. Too often, we are controlled by and gated by central actors. About a month ago, many of us suffered issues accessing websites or applications. Why? Because an AWS server on the east coast of the US went out. And what we realized was suddenly our access was gated by a central actor. And actually, when you extend that further, 3 corporations control 90% of cloud servers and access. 3. They can determine if you get access to their services. They can determine whether that information is maybe shared without your knowledge. That's not fair. That's not right. I think many of you here today, you share those sentiments. So the freedoms of ACE are very core and very important to Midnight and what we are trying to present to the world. There is a different way, a different type of ownership, a different type of access. So the freedoms of ACE are critical to a fairer digital future. Sorry, I'm going to correct myself. To a fairer future. Because let's be honest, everything we do nowadays is digital. So I've explained why Midnight, what matters, why we care about rational privacy and cooperative tokenomics. But it'll be remiss of me not to talk about our fair distribution model, about the Glacier Drop. The claim phase lasted for just over 3 months, and we're right now almost at the end of the scavenger mine. And we've been absolutely staggered by how people have come. We're looking at one of the largest token distributions in blockchain history. We had a story to tell. We thought privacy mattered, and we wanted people to have access. We believed so strongly in the technology, we gave 100% of supply away. And we said, come and grab it. Come and grab your stake. No different to the pioneers who came to the US a couple of centuries ago and claimed their stake in the land. We said, come and claim your stake in Midnight. And we've distributed, or by the end of the scavenger mine, which is in a few days, more than 4 billion Night tokens will have been distributed. That's a big number. And right now in the scavenger mine, and including the claim phase, more than 8 million addresses are actively participating. Now, it's hard to quantify what does 8 million mean. So actually this morning, the number was 8.5, and I think it's increasing by roughly 100,000 a day. So by the end, we'll probably get to 9 million. That's the population of the City of London. This great city, my hometown that you're in, it's 9 million people. We've just got all of London to come and claim and participate. Think about that. So I just want to finish by talking about what rational privacy is. It's not about hiding. Often people think about privacy as about hiding. It's about choice. Privacy gives you an element of choice. Just like we discovered in the survey you all took part in, you have a choice of whether you disclose information or not. It gives you freedom. That choice gives you freedom. And when you combine choice with freedom, it gives you empowerment. We want to empower each and every one of you with Midnight, with the technology that we've built, so everybody sees this as the future, as the fourth generation of blockchain. So we're going to play a little video. It's an anthem that we put together around highlighting what it means. So it's time to break free. So I'll be here over the next couple of days. The wonderful team from the Midnight Foundation are here, from Shielded Technologies are here, also from I.O. Come find us. Come tell us your story. Come tell us what you want to achieve. Let us help you. Let us listen. Let us deliver for you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.